Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. October 7. Today marks 2 years since we saw the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. And yet, the threat is even worse today. Imagine that. I never could have. Not when I was experiencing that day with you and everybody else, not when I was there watching how the communities were reacting. 1,200 massacred. But the killing wasn't the main objective. Stealing people was. Luring the Jews to come get their own, who would be hidden among the civilian population. Many who got out say they were held in the homes of random, ordinary Gazans who were either full of hate or full of fear of their terrorist overlords. The terrorists use the innocent as human shields, and they get a pass. They used places of worship and hospitals as attack positions, and they get a pass. And they held 251 Israeli hostages as bait, and they have gotten a pass. Since then, 148 have been released or rescued. 83 have been confirmed killed. And the resulting war has worked exactly as the terrorists may have dreamed. Right now, 48 of the hostages remain in Gaza 2 years later. Only about 20 are believed to be alive. But they are not considered the most sympathetic victims, and that is the really troubling part of this. The most sympathetic people across the world are the people who stole them. Today, Americans and people all around the world have decided that Israel's actions to root out the people responsible for that massacre and to rescue their own, that's the real problem. The Jews are now those committing genocide. Despite their history, to accuse the Jews of genocide, think about that. The fact that over 20% of their citizens are Arabs, but they're genocidal? It is they, not the terrorists, who want all the Jews gone, right? The Jews are the problem. American politicians and pundits literally plead the case of terrorists. Liberal kids on campuses cry for an end to Israel. People campaign and win in America saying globalize the intifada. How? I say social media, the land of selective truth and conspiracies where division is monetized by the owners, cashed in on by opportunists, and the dynamic works great for both parties in this binary battle to the bottom of our toxic two-party travesty of a system. We see the problem at all levels now because conspiracies are king. Now, it would be one thing if this were just some cottage industry and a pastime for digital warriors, but it's not. We see the same game online being played offline at the highest levels. We saw it today. Our chief law enforcement officer, the Attorney General of the United States of America, acted like she was in a Twitter war, battling with bots, except she was before a Senate committee creating a deafening silence that may take the Epstein fiasco to a whole new level. You want to see how pushing BS division can get you in trouble? Watch this.
There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs?
You sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that? Okay.
How do you not say no if you are Bondi? even if it isn't true, because that's not exactly the biggest obstacle in politics, right? The president must be livid. Now, if the Attorney General had said, look, I'm not going to answer anything about Epstein. It's not why I'm here. Do not take my silence as indicative of anything other than not responding to your questions. Then I would get it. But she didn't say that. Silence when asked if there are pictures with Trump with half-naked kids, you say no if that is the answer. Do I think there's an Epstein list? No, I do not. Do I think there are pictures that they're talking about with the president? No, I do not. I've never seen nor heard anything to make me think that the president had anything to hide until today. That silence, that deafening silence, combined with who she is and what she and other MAGA folk have said before they were held to account like this.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
I think Jeffrey Epstein may have some videotape of people central to the Democrat and maybe Republican Party doing some things, let's just say, they shouldn't be doing. He may have been working with foreign intelligence services.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
Now, is it one thing to pander on pods and get those clicks, selling conspiracies? Yeah. But for the same guy to then become the FBI director and to then tweet, the transparency I promised is being delivered by this FBI. What a slap in the face. This guy said Epstein was about famous people being pedophiles and cell footage and it all being hidden, and he would be your boy. And his deputy, Dan Bongino, we the people, it said on his shirt, right? We the people don't get any answers. He responds, we promised you transparency and accountability. Yeah, you did. We will continue to deliver on those promises. You deserve better, he says. We do deserve better from you. You have delivered on nothing. Two options. Say, look, I was selling BS back then. I was entertaining. That's what they tell me, by the way. You know, those guys were entertainers then. All right, so then say it. Say it now. I was entertaining. I didn't mean it. It was BS. Say it. Or release the files, or at least tell Johnson to stop blocking the House from being able to debate a vote on it. Instead, what do? Instead of owning it, instead of transparency, right, which is what we need, they double down on division. They accuse their opponents of the lack of transparency that they refuse to cure. So they say, oh, the transparency we're talking about in those tweets isn't about us. It's about these cockamamie conspiracies we have about the other side. New reports that Special Counsel Jack Smith's team in 2023 were spying on Republican senators around January 6th. Now, well, what was going on? Jack Smith used a grand jury that was legally impaneled for his use, right? To determine, or to try to determine, if Trump or his inner circle were trying to pressure senators not to certify the electoral vote. Now, if you lived through that period, was that a crazy suggestion? Was that worth investigating? And did he do it the right way? Seems like the answer to all those questions would be yes. But to those who are outraged by what we learned today, would you be equally outraged if it were AOC who was tapped? If it were Schumer? I don't think so. And that's the problem. There is no transparency unless it brings an advantage of one side against the other. This is what has toxified the Israel dynamic in the Middle East. This is what corrupts our system and makes everything about us and them, and you must pick a side and stick to it no matter what the facts are, and you're not interested in those anyway. When will somebody be about making things better? Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.